Tim. It is so great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on the show and giving us hopefully a little inside information on what's going on as we are almost into season 4 of Virgin River. It's going to be streaming for those of you listening July 20th on Netflix. And Tim, right off the bat, when I found out you were going to be here with us, I want to know how wonderful is this experience for you to have gone from where Doc was in season 1 and we met him and he was bitter and closed off and set in his ways to having 4 seasons to unfold and share this story.
And one of the great things about the show for me is that it's so different every different generation. My story is of a guy who's older and we ended up making a mistake in his life with the woman he loved 20 years before, Hope Ray, doing at a school place. And he's been trying to redeem it ever since. And, and it sort of resonates for us whenever we do in our life and you present a renewal. And I think that's one of the themes of River, is that most everybody now has come to this idyllic, beautiful place to get a new start, and figure something out. They've had trauma or an injury in their life, hurt, and they're trying to recover from it. So, and it shows how people who live in a small town take care of each other too.
Well, and you brought up, the story with Hope. I always go to our listeners and say, what do you want to know? And of course, everybody's like, ask him who's the father of Mel's baby. I'm sure well, maybe you know, but you're not telling us that, right?
I think I'll let that information. It's more fun to watch, but it's all going to be out there. We premiere July 20th, and we're just so grateful for this audience reception and just a chance to do another season of these characters and get back together again. And because I can't tell you how much I adore working with Alex Breckenridge, who plays Mel Monroe, my sort of partner at the Clinic, and Martin Henderson's Beverly List. So many of the actors are just great to work with, and I'm stomping with the bit to from season 5 and see where that takes us. And also we've been doing it long enough now where we're really comfortable in the role, know where those characters are, where they go, and how they stay things. So it just takes it to a different level,
Do you have, talk about the story and getting comfortable with the cast. Elizabeth, who's listening, asked. She said, she can tell watching the show that it seems like you are having this wonderful time filming. Is there any funny story that you want to share from working with this cast?
There's always, some of the funniest stuff is the attempt at being a medical doctor. And, some of my most fun things are with Alex Breckenridge, who plays Mel, my nurse practitioner. And us trying to get that stuff right and say the words right sometimes is quite humorous because it's and the words, don't quite roll off your mouth the same way every time. So I think, I've made quite a few blunders with a medical term or a medical procedure. And sometimes Alice would just stop and laugh and look at me and go, oh my God, what are you doing?
Jillian wanted to ask, she said, I adore Tim. I can't believe, from Animal House to Virgin River that I'm still enjoying his work. From the dramatic side of things, is there a dramatic scene or role that you recall being most challenging in your career?
Every role has its own challenges, but I did a movie. It was called Buried Alive. It was directed by Frank Darabont, who did Shawshank Redemption Very mild. He's a wonderful, wonderful writer director. And it was his first directing gig, and it was about a guy who thought he had a happy marriage and moved from a big city to the country, and his wife was unhappy, and he had a boyfriend, and they plotted to kill him. And, in the running, and they almost succeeded, but he didn't get quite enough of a poison, and woke up inside a coffin and escaped, and sought his revenge. And it was interesting because, and challenging because I didn't have any dialogue in the last half of the movie. I mean, before I was poisoned, I had all this dialogue. And then once he's poisoned, it was just, he was alone and plotting revenge, sticking around, and it was totally unique and totally exciting. And actually, it was very successful. We did a sequel of it that I directed. And they used to run them, I think, on Halloween, and then they'd run them on New Year's together, back to back on USA. They're very successful. It's one of those crazy things. It was just that. And when I directed the second one, Ali Key was the star, and the same thing happened to me as what was happening to her. And I told her, I said, it's going to be tricky because the second half of this movie, you're not going to have any dialogue. You're going to be messed up, and and you're going to see your husband off with another woman, and you're not going to feel good. So I just be prepared for those feelings. and she was grateful that I was there, be proud because you get into a part and your emotions all wound up, and who knows what that.
Oh yeah, I mean, just you describing it I feel like I need to get out. I don't want to be buried alive. I don't want to be watching all of that happening.
It's a real fun little movie. Really well done. Jennifer Jason Leigh's in it, Bill Atherton, and Floyd Axton. It was quite a good film.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I'm going to have to, I wonder, I'm sure it's still out there somewhere. Everything is, on demand these days. On the flip side of that, and gosh, I wish I had more time with you, but Patrick wanted to ask, from the comedic greats of working with Chevy Chase in Fletch and Chris Farley and all of the SNL alum, and is there a comedic scene that you remember being challenging to get through because it was just so funny?
When I worked with Mel Brooks and Bancroft, it wasn't that much successful movie, but it was, to work with Mel, it was always so difficult because he was so bloody funny. And there was one scene where I snuck into, it was a World War II story, and I was in the underground, and I snuck into, and I was in love with his wife, Aunt Bancroft. I think we were having an affair. And so I was in her bed, and then he came in late and got in bed thinking I was her, and I'm there thinking he is her. And, I wake up and snuggle up to Mel Brooks.
Not a lot of people can say they woke up in bed with Mel Brooks.